Okay, so ignore the shower. Something occurred to me that I wanted to point out that I might have forgotten if I had waited. And it's something I kind of wanted to point out. And that is dark humor, what I refer to as dark humor, amongst people. What the hell? Anyway, dark humor amongst people suffering from mental illness, specifically stuff like depression and stuff. Humor is like a really good coping mechanism, especially if you're already funny and if you're dealing with stuff. And sorry, I was just thinking about, I have a lot of that. I try not to put it in my videos because I don't want you guys to think that I'm some psychopath, but the truth is a lot of people deal with their depression and their anxiety by joking about it. You know, I do. I see other people doing it, and I'm like, oh, that's so hashtag relatable. You know, it's one of those if you don't laugh you cry kind of things. And I think it's like, well, yeah, it's like if you don't laugh you cry. It's God, I look like crap. So for instance, you know, when you get frustrated, you say stuff like, oh, somebody kill me, I just want to die. You know, somebody else saying something like that, it'd be like, hey, don't joke about that, or hey, don't say that. But it's like you genuinely have these feelings. You genuinely want to die. You might not have like an entire plan set for suicide or anything, but the smallest things can actually send you spiraling. So one way to cope with it is to just like joke about it. And to somebody like a lay person who just isn't dealing with those issues, I can only imagine it must sound terrible, because sometimes it's just like, ugh, kill me, you know. I feel so weird. I'm literally making this in the shower. I'm sorry. I knew if I didn't do it now, because I'm not feeling very well right now in terms of my depression, I just wouldn't make it. So sorry. But I mean, it goes from little offhand comments, like, ugh, kill me, to stuff like, hey guys, what's up? I hate myself and I want to die, kind of stuff. And you laugh. And you know, when you say that kind of stuff to other people who've dealt with depression and stuff, it's like, ha. And then sometimes to other people, it's like, like they don't really know how to respond. Like they're smiling and they're like, this is a cry for help. I don't know how to describe it, because I'd have to like make a joke off of something and there's nobody here, but I literally do that all the time, everywhere I go. And oftentimes people don't know how to react, you know, and I can usually determine whether or not somebody's got something going on. I can't diagnose people. I don't have the credentials, but I can usually tell when something's up based off of that kind of stuff, because nobody in their right mind would joke about suicide. It's not funny. But when those kind of thoughts plague you, it just becomes your reality. So it seeps into your jokes. And although it doesn't, I mean, it's not like treatment. It helps you get by on a like day-to-day level. This is so random. This is just an observation, because I do it all the time, and I'll see certain people doing it all the time, and they're usually people who've they're always people, you know, in my experience, who have dealt with anxiety and depression. It's like, they make offhand remarks about how they hate their life. I know I do that. They make offhand remarks about how they want to kill others, or how they want to harm others, or they want to harm themselves or end their own lives. And I do that, and I'll feel like massively guilty if I do that in front of my like family, or even on YouTube. I don't really edit my videos that much, but I have been guilty of, I try not to edit my videos that much. I might later in the future, just because I like editing videos and that's what I want to do in terms of actually pursuing a career in film. But like, I try to keep them as raw as possible, just because I want you guys to get the full scope of the actual illness, like for educational purposes or whatever. But if I do edit it out, it's usually stuff that I'm saying something about how much I just want to die, and I'm like, well, let me leave that out. I don't want anybody to get like triggered. I don't want to upset anyone. But that's a reality that a lot of us are dealing with. And I mean, it's not even a matter of it being funny. It's just a matter of it being like facts, you know? And sometimes it's unconscious, like it's from your subconscious, kind of. You think about these things and then you go out in the world and you put on your mask of sanity, or your mask of being happy, or your mask of whatever. And every now and then the mask just sort of comes off a bit, because you're really comfortable, and it slips out that, oh, I hate myself and I want to, you know, because it's like sort of ingrained in you. That's kind of like your default, if that makes any sense. I feel like I'm not making any sense. I know I do that a lot, and I'd like to just apologize if I offend anyone with it, because it's not my intention to offend anyone. But going forward, you might, because I don't really want to edit that kind of stuff out anymore. You might see that stuff, or hear it rather, because oftentimes I really do just hate myself. I hate my existence. I loathe my existence. I wish I was never born. I wish I was never born, that's a fact. And oftentimes I want to die. And it'll come out in like jokes and stuff, because that's when I'm like not most honest. I don't know. I joke a lot, you know. I mean, I try to be serious for my videos, but if you know me, if anybody who's been around me knows I'm a jokester. I've always been a jokester, even before I was depressed, and it sort of just changed with my mood. Same goes for mania, which is on the other side of the spectrum, except with mania, it's like, and anybody who has mania, or even if you don't have mania, if you've ever seen anybody who's manic can attest to this, you basically have no filter. Some of my best writing and some of my best, you know, just stuff that I've written was written while I was depressed. I think I was gonna make a separate video about that, just how my mood affects how I, my writing and stuff. I know I don't put my writing because I'm so self-conscious, but I might for the sake of that. But long story short, my writing that when I'm depressed is a lot better than my writing when I'm manic, because when I'm manic I have like a million thoughts and I write so much stuff down, versus when I'm depressed, where it's like if I write something dumb I'll like burn it. But that's off topic a bit. The point is, a lot of times humor is used as a coping mechanism to hide some, like, the actual pain that's going on. And it's not bad. It's not bad. These people, myself included, use it as something to cope. I wouldn't dare hurt anyone. I wouldn't even want to hurt myself at this point, but I do get those kind of thoughts. but I try to put a positive spin on them, because if I dwell on them and accept them for what they are, oh my god, my hand is tired, and accept, I'm not naked, and accept them for what they are, they're actually very grim thoughts, and if I was to just meditate on those thoughts, I'd be even more depressed, you know? It's like trying to make the best out of a bad situation. And yeah, it's, if you don't laugh, you cry. I know some people cry laughing, but you know what I mean. It's like your whole world just becomes this reality that is, you hate yourself, even if it's not socially acceptable. So when you're out and about acting socially acceptable, you'll be making jokes, and I don't know why I even made this video, gosh, just because I do that a lot, and I've noticed other people doing it a lot. And whenever I see people making stuff, because it's a serious thing to joke about, whenever I see people doing stuff like talking about how they want to die, it often turns out they're just depressed. If you aren't depressed, or you just rack yourself, like, you think about it, you know, if you make jokes about killing yourself and stuff, you know, and you think it over and you really just don't, try not to make those jokes, honestly. I try not to tell people what to do, but I mean, that's a serious thing. But I wouldn't even joke about it if it wasn't for the fact that it helps me cope. And if you do see somebody who does that, I would just say pay attention to that person, because they could be hurting, and you never know. Even though a lot of people don't hurt themselves, a lot of people do. And that's what's often called like a cry for help. And sometimes people will be asking for help and they don't even know they're asking for help, but they need help. Don't be afraid to like talk to them. Nothing like mean or anything, but like just see if they're okay. Because I know there was a time where I really wish somebody would have reached out and helped me. And I eventually got the help I needed, and I was fine. I mean, not fine, but you know what I mean. Sometimes people are afraid to ask for help, but their subconscious mind doesn't care, and it'll ask for help. You know, like they'll need help, but they won't consciously ask for it. They'll just do things like they don't understand. I'm talking usually about like young people. They'll like do really crazy stuff and not even know why, and it turns out it's because they just wanted attention, because they wanted help, but they weren't sure what to do. They don't have any other coping mechanisms, and like me, for example, they were already making jokes, so the subject matter just gets darker. I don't know what my point was. I guess I've just been thinking a lot about dying, making a lot of jokes about death, and watching people who do that on YouTube. And I'm like, this person's depressed, and it turned out they were. And I guess it just dawned on me. So I thought I'd just put that out there. Feel like I'm not saying anything. Anyway, I'm gonna go to bed, but I don't have anyone to talk to. So I thought I'd talk to you guys, I guess. And also, I don't mean to offend anybody, because some of the stuff I say is just so dark. It'll be jokes about things you just shouldn't joke about. Like my mother's suicide, my own suicide, killing people. And I'm not a malicious person at all. But that's what helps me like cope. Like oftentimes it's like jokes that I keep to myself, but sometimes I'll like say stuff, and like Cecil will be like, oh, That's how she responds when she doesn't know what to say. That's what she says. Like, but really, I hate myself and I want to die. And she'll be like, oh. And that just makes me feel really bad because I don't want to put that burden on you. Because for me, wanting to die is like the sky being blue. It's just, that's just how it is. So I just joke about it like it's a casual fact, but I realize it has an impact on people who, that's not their reality. And I don't know, I'm going off on a tangent. I'm just lonely and I need someone to talk to. And yes, I realize how sad that is, that I decided to talk to my phone, but that is something that I observed. It's really common behavior